right, here we go. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, joined once again by Wimawks for another Stepn sessions. Wimawks, since the last time we talked, we said that every time we seem to chat, the market dips, and we chatted earlier this week saying that it couldn't happen again, and it did. Bitcoin, we're living through some unprecedented history here. We
Right.
we dropped through a previous all-time high, and I think we should start there. But first, how are you? How are things going? And what do you think of this crazy market, my friend?
Everything's going well. It's still hot over here on this side, but it's going good. Yeah, it's we made history again. And everyone
We
said
did
it.
we did call it, didn't we?
Yeah, I was
Just a
like
little
I
bit.
couldn't. I mean, didn't call it, but it's just like I'm not in a hurry, right? And I think that's
Mhm.
what you were talking about too. And the FOMO gets real, right? You're like, well, I don't want to get left behind, right? I want to get my shoes in. I want to buy my Solano because it's going to 10 times. And I think what we're saying is, I've moved a lot of my liquid coins to USD, and I'm just kind of sitting there. And I didn't buy this last dip because I don't think it's over. I mean, there's no macro news or change that says we're going to be any better. And we'll see a dollar or a soul shoe and a $10 soul. I
Oh,
still think we'll.
$10. I thought
I,
I thought you were saying $20 sold.
no, I think it'll be 10 and one. I just think it'll be there, and I think because they're such psychological numbers, and
Mhm.
I think we'll see a wick of $10,000 Bitcoin. I
Really?
think,
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I just there's no support. I mean, we're in such a weird macro deal, and until Celsius is resolved, right? There's a couple things that could happen. Celsius falls, and they go pick on the next one, or a big
Mhm.
bank comes and buys them up, which I think is the play, right? Because then now these big banks can get in this realm and do this, but you're still,
Yeah.
you're their leverage position is not resolved yet, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's funny because everyone's like, oh, they put in a lot more Bitcoin, they put a lot more capital, and they took their leverage position down to 13,000. I'm like, that's like $5,000 from where we just at like 2 days ago, right?
Well,
That's not safe.
it's funny because it's just like I'm watching it, I'm just like, all right, well, like it's a moving target, right? And
Right.
sure, it gets more and more difficult, but to your point, from a macro perspective, nothing's changed. In
No.
fact, I feel like they haven't even announced a recession here in the US,
Right.
even though we're pretty much in
Yep.
one. So sure, can that stuff be priced in? Maybe, but I
Uh,
don't know. I'm with you. I don't know that it goes that low. I obviously don't want it to go that low. Um,
but I think you and I, we're mature enough in the space that if it does go that low, it's painful. It puts a lot of my
mhm.
plans. The difference between a $10,000 Bitcoin and $100,000 Bitcoin does affect what I'm able to do, but it doesn't put me in another position. It's not like I'm running for the hills or I'm liquidating. It's not like I'm done at
Yeah.
that point. But I think it was a St. Louis Fed number came out and said, GDP is at zero, right? And
No.
that's what hadn't been reported yet. And and I'm just kind of walking around like, how far lagging do these institutions have to be before they see where everything's at, right? Before it's
Yeah.
like, okay, now we're in a recession. I'm like, no, we've been in one, and it's going to be a while before we get out of it. So
The one thing that I love about crypto is how fast everything is.
yep.
It just shows how much of a dinosaur legacy institutions and legacy metrics are.
Right. Well, and it shows what that derivatives market, and I am not I'm not trained financially, I'm not educated financially, but the derivatives market and just the overall sentiment of a gambling mentality,
Mhm.
how much it influences sports, just across the board of where everything's in a gambling aspect of when that leverage is called, the cascading effect of how fast it moves. And
Yeah.
that's what I like about especially Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of the level one um, tokens is that if you get caught out, you get punished like immediately. It's not like you
Mhm.
can kind of cover on it. And I guess the big thing that I hadn't seen was I saw someone going through is like when it goes 38% down or when it goes 50% down and people have to cover 38% of their assets, when it goes down another 13, they've got to sell another 38%, right? So the cascading just gets faster and faster and faster as it
Yeah.
goes. And when I was messing around with it and taking some collateralized loans, I was doing it on a small kind of seeing how it worked
Trial
before I
basis.
before
Yeah.
I did it. I didn't jump into 10 times leverage trading on on a platform or something. I
Yeah.
was just kind of taking a loan on there. And when my first margin got called, I was like, oh, this is really hard to get out of. Right.
Yep.
That was only a 4-to-1. Right. It was 4-to-1 in their favor, not me taking out 4 times to 1,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which really gets in on. And I've seen so much of the shorter saying that they were paying like 2,100% APR on Celsius tokens to get them to short because the liquidity was so low because they had held it back. And that
Mhm.
might be what saves Celsius compared to UST, but you're getting in that realm of a centralized exchange, right?
I mean, they
To
were
that point,
always centralized, but yeah,
but
they
to
did
that
tout a
point,
lot of DeFi.
right, UST failed because they were not ready yet, right?
Mhm.
It's argued that 2 or 3 more weeks and they have the peg in place and they have everything in place that they would have survived and it would have worked. But this shows that you can't come out with this half cooked idea,
Yeah.
right, in a DeFi platform and survive it. And Celsius will probably get through it, but we'll see.
Yeah. I was having this conversation with someone recently, and I remember back in 2017, and you and I got in around the
Yeah,
same time, right? So there was the Mahatma Gandhi quote that was floating around, which I still think is actually even more relevant today. And that was first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win.
right,
So people in 2017 were saying, okay,
right,
they ignored us from 2009 onwards.
right.
Now, 2017, what was the main headline? Oh, tulip bubble mania, right?
Yeah,
Like, what is
right.
this scam, whatever. Well, I felt like Luna, because it was a
Yeah,
decentralized stablecoin
yeah,
that became a top 10 coin, Celsius, BlockFi, all of these guys started pulling money from major institutions, major banks.
right.
Like, look at the narrative, right? For the last 18 months, BlockFi, Celsius, I mean, even Gemini to a certain extent, were like,
Right.
hey, we can offer you 8% on your US dollars. That's 80 times more than what your bank is offering you.
Right.
So why wouldn't people put their money in
Yeah.
there? So this to me was the first, like, okay, shots fired across the bow.
Right.
And now we're getting to a point where there was definitely an attack on Luna.
Right.
There's definitely an attack currently happening on Celsius.
Yep.
So we're in the fight you stage right now. And
We we
I think we're only at the beginning of the fight you stage.
we are, and we wanted institutional money, right? We always said that institutional money, and then Bitcoin to the moon. But it gets to the point that there's not enough Bitcoin, there's not enough Ethereum. Like
Yeah.
any way that you slice it, anyone that wants to get in on this, there's not enough, and I think that's kind of the narrative that's being missed. Now,
Mhm.
whatever that price is, and even with Solana, I don't, it's what, up 20% today or
Yeah.
like the last 9 hours or something. I
So for
use it.
just for context for everyone, we're recording this on June
Yeah.
19th. So first of all, happy Father's Day in the afternoon, and Bitcoin and the rest of the market is pumping like up 15 to 20%
for
after this
no
major crash. So
for
that's
no reason.
for
Nothing's
no
changed.
relief rally, maybe we'll call it, but that's kind of where we're at right now in
Well,
terms of
that's
timeline.
what I think. That's what we called, right? Is that we would see. This is, I don't want to say we called, but what we discussed on Thursday is we would see a dip, right? There would be some
Mhm.
coming in, because even when we were talking on Thursday, we'd hit that 20K line, and we'd see some kind of rally, and then it would probably dip again, and then probably on Sunday there'd be a lot of action because that's when the shorters come back.
Mhm.
Right. And I think that's the thing about the crypto market, why it moves, is because you can trade every day. Right. So you're seeing whatever looks like. It'll be interesting to see what futures do in markets. Right. And
Yeah.
then what kind of turns out of how much there is to gain and how much momentum there is on this. But, you just kind of wait, right, and it'll come around on there. And that kind of gets into our next topic of shoe pricing, right? Because
Mhm.
plays right into where you're at. You're up at 3, right? 3 shoes.
Yes. So update for me is I FOMO'd into a second and third pair since I think our last video. So
Right.
but yeah, I mean, part of that was sure we'll get into the shoe stabilizing price, but part of it was the proof of concept. I really liked the changes from
Yeah.
what I see from the team, and I think the euphoria stage and the subsequent crash isn't necessarily over,
Right.
but the whole like, okay, everybody was coming in trying to make a ton of money. Now we're at the point where people are playing the game because they get other benefits. They're not trying to make some crazy ROI, right? And
Right.
it took Splinterlands a long time to kind of reach that. Everybody thought we were going to keep mooning and mooning, and
Right.
they had to rework the game economy. And now we're in the process where Stepn actually did it quite quickly, in my opinion, at least compared to Splinterlands, where they said, "Hey, here are the things we're going to do. We're going to start implementing them as soon as possible." And so that gave me a little bit more confidence to put more
Right.
into the project. But yes, I have been watching the shoe price for quite a while to see when a good entry point is. I missed the dip a while back that dropped down
Right.
to like 2.5 Solana.
The 225. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think we dropped to like the mid threes a while back too, and then we were kind of above four for a bit.
Right.
So obviously we've dropped a little bit now, and they're kind of sitting at the 3.7 range as a floor price. But yeah, for me, like I said, it was like the concept has been improved. It's making me go out and move every day. So
Right.
I'm going in, and I'm going to be happy with these prices no matter what. Even if we do go to one soul in the future,
Right.
that is not something that I worry about what I have currently. It'll be how much more do I want to invest into the game, right? To maybe level up my shoes or recycle whenever that program comes around.
And I think that price, I say it's going to go to one, or I think it is, but it's going to be quick, right? Very similar to the two that we saw, 2.5. It was like 6 hours. Like you had to
Mhm.
catch it within that time frame. And then your thought process is like, well, is this going to zero? Like it's at 2.5, right? I'm checking all the headlines to see if there's something going on, right? That's
Yeah.
the first aspect of it. But I think that was the two news is that it wasn't going to be allowed in China, and they were going to change the bot or the cheating thing. I'm still kind of against it. Not against it, but I'm like, if you want to run two devices and you kind of want to set it up, more power to you, right? I'm not doing it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just a little bit extra effort. And I don't know, the problem with a centralized group like this is you don't know what they're seeing on the back end, and you don't know if this was a huge problem. So you kind of have to trust in that. So they're going to do
Well, can we
anti-cheat.
assume that it's a huge problem if they're taking the time and dev resources to fix it?
Yeah, if I'm assuming if they put the anti-cheating thing, and I didn't even read through exactly what the anti-cheating is, but I'm assuming if you're running two accounts that are right next to each other, it would be interesting. And I mean, my brother and his family, they do it together, so there's some part of it, but I'm assuming like if you have two in your pocket, right, if it
Yeah.
tracks that they're right next to each other, that's what it's looking for, the cheating aspect of it.
It's only using GPS, right? It doesn't
Right.
use your step counter. Because I
Right.
feel like the step counter is easy, right? If you have the
Right.
same exact steps because it's sitting on the same person,
Right.
then that's easy. But yeah, I don't know. I remember the pushback early on was, oh, I can't go out for a walk with my significant other or my
Right.
family anymore.
And I think that's what it first pinged as, but I think it's fine now because uh, my brother's family, they all go out together, and he hasn't reported kind of any issue on that. So I don't think it's that. I think it's just got to be right next to you, like almost on your body. And I'm wondering, even if you had it in both of your hands, would it be picked up? But again, I don't have two phones, and it's not really worth my time to set up because that's not what I'm here for. And
Yeah.
we always get the question, should you get into it? And I'm like, if you're into it to ROI out of it, probably not.
Hmm.
They're probably going to catch that. If you're in it to exercise and supplement other things that you're going to do, and want the option to get some effort out of it, I think it's very, very doable in that aspect, right? If you're done in 6 months, I think you can get out what you put into it, right? And
Hmm.
basically, what they're doing is making us all little matrix pods that are expending energy to map out their things. I mean, that's really
Yeah.
what it is, right? We're expending energy, and they're giving us some sort of currency NFT on it. So on my end, I bought another common, so I'm up to 8.
Nice.
But
Okay.
or another uncommon. My
Oh, you bought
wife,
another uncommon.
Yeah, I bought
Okay.
another uncommon.
But you only get one bonus for that,
You,
right?
you get
Okay.
one bonus, but the plan is because that puts me at um, that put me at 4 shoes. I bought another common trainer for under 7.
Okay.
And I'm going to buy 4 more common trainers to level up later. That will put me at 9. And that was way cheaper than doing the energy the same way, uncommon wise, like getting to
Hmm.
7 uncommons. And I'll get the 9 shoe bonus out of it. So I'll get the 9 shoe energy out of that. And so what it was I sold that trainer. So when I minted that uncommon trainer, I sold it, on that dip, not for the
Hmm.
bottom, but buying these 5 common trainers for under 7, I'll be ahead, and then I
Okay.
can just mint it into a uncommon trainer later when I get enough shoes that I mint out. But the problem I'm running into, and we can kind of get into mechanics now, is I'm not getting scrolls. I haven't gotten a scroll yet.
Oh, I need to go for my run today to open my first box because I'm like one GST short, but
Short, right?
yeah. You can sell scrolls, right?
Yeah,
Can you
there.
trade them or send them?
You.
Are,
I
are they
don't
are they
know if
technically NFTs?
I don't know if you can. You cannot send jewels at the moment. But you can sell jewels. I don't know if you can send scrolls. Scrolls right now are roughly 21 GMT for a common
Hmm.
and up almost 30, 32 for uncommon
So wow, this is
GMT.
gonna slow down the market or the farming of shoes dramatically.
Right. That's why I think there's a lot more shoes that people haven't listed yet. But
Hmm.
I think there was a lot. And going back into, we don't know what they see on their side.
Sure.
I think they're going to do this, but even that is, if you want to, mint every 72 hours, right? Let's just say you're doing a 0-1 strategy, meaning that that's the lowest that you'll have in your price if you mint at 0 and 1, and you're just kind of cycling through. That means you got to get 2 scrolls every 72 hours. So 2 out of 3 chests have to have a
I
scroll
have
in
to
them.
have a scroll on them. I don't even know what the drop rates are, but how often do you get a box?
I get a box every day.
Okay, so is that guaranteed or it's
I
just
think I
high
think
high
it's pretty
percentage?
close. I think it's pretty close now, but I don't know what it is if you're at 2 energy and 1
Sure, sure,
common.
yeah.
But I think it's as soon as you go to 4,
For energy.
or
Yeah.
yeah, or 3 energy, like as soon as they see you kind of go up more.
Hmm.
And I have a theory too, and it's not been proven, or I haven't seen it anywhere, but just kind of based on what it is. My brother said that he bought a lot of gems, and his failure rate was really high on those, like almost 2 out of every 3 combines
Just
failed.
failed.
Now, knock on wood, I've done 9 combines off of gem, and I buy the 3rd gem, so I don't buy all the gems. I've
Hmm.
done 9 combines, and 2 of mine have failed. So my success rate is way higher,
Way
and it
higher.
in the level 1 should be 35% success rate. So it should be closer to what he was seeing, but he was getting it all the way up to um, in his level 2s, which changed to 65%.
Now, do
So
you have
I
more energy than him?
no, he has way more
He has
energy.
more energy than you.
Yeah, he has like
Interesting. Okay.
17. Like
17 energy?
he's been minting. So I kind
You
of forgot he was minting like every day that he could. Every
Yeah.
48 hours he was minting an uncommon shoe. So he's just been going crazy since this time.
So is
And
there no maximum energy?
20
20. Okay. What
20 is the max. But you can do a 25 session. So if you do 20 and you do an overlap session, that's how you get 25. So if anyone watches Barn Dog and his
the
like
25 125% strategy?
yeah, and is he's got like a shoe with, I don't know, 2200 luck or something that he was
Mhm.
opening the other day to get to that. But that ties into, I think boxes are distributed based on your total energy. So when you expend energy that day, right, it looks at your luck and does a determination, but I think it's also keeping cumulative energy luck spent. So whatever you've done prior to that,
Mhm.
I think that's a part of the equation, which they won't release, right? They say it's proprietary and they don't
Yeah.
want anyone else to see that. But I can tell, like, once I get to a level, like once I got over this threshold, like it was my fifth or sixth run, like I was never getting anything below that anymore. I was
Interesting.
never
Okay.
getting boxes below what my first boxes were on there.
Gotcha.
And I'm way higher. So my brother's way higher on energy. But if you look at the chart that they've laid out, it rewards energy over luck. But I've got like 4 times as much luck as he does. And granted, he's got more energy, about twice as much energy than I have. But he's already getting 5 and 6 boxes, and I'm only at 4. And so that kind of validates, because he's got so much more energy than I do. That's how he's
Mm,
so much further ahead, because we're
yeah.
basically running the same amount of times, right? But he's just running for way longer, right? Basically
Yeah.
twice as long. And that's why I'm thinking that that's where it gets into that level. So if you come out right away and let's say you bought you had a super rare shoe and you had 20 energy, I don't think you would be in that 6, 7, 8 tier day one. I don't see it happening.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
just for me right now, so the first day that I think it was available, I only had one shoe still,
Right.
and I got one. Was it level one, right?
The first
Damaged
box.
mystery
Yeah.
box. But I think as soon as I had the third shoe with me, the first walk that I went on that, I immediately got dropped a level two.
Right.
Um, level two. So, I don't know again what the drop rates are, but it was just like, oh, okay, well, this is nice, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
immediate benefit. But obviously, we'll see what I get when I open it.
So, but I was telling you that my wife my wife had 3 boxes that she hadn't opened, and they were level. I think they were all level ones. One might have been a 2, but she got 2 gems, and I usually get 2 gems out of 3s and 4s.
Mhm.
Every one of her boxes had 2 gems.
Nice.
Um, 2 of them had GST, and 2 of them had scrolls. So in her 3 boxes, she got 2 scrolls.
Okay,
So
got it.
so I don't think it's dependent on there. I just think it's dependent on where that rarity
Sure.
of it is. But I'm still opening old box. I think tomorrow I still have an old box. And
You can
then
only hold 4 boxes, right, at a
right,
time? Okay.
right. And so, if you do that 96-hour um, timer from the old boxes the way it was, you could get into a position that you need to spend GST to open them before you
Yeah,
make your
beforehand.
make your next run. But these next ones are way longer. Like the 4s are over 96. So I'm gonna have to spend 5 or 6 GST on my next after this next day um, to keep up. So there's that GST burning aspect
Mhm.
that they're gonna do. So I won't have a level 4 until Tuesday, a couple days from now,
Yeah.
before I open my first one. So I'm wondering if there's why I'm not getting scrolls is because it's still old boxes, which I
Okay.
wouldn't think. I would think they would still be linked to level 3s, but I don't know. Who knows
Okay.
if they weren't when those mystery boxes were minted, they're not running some other algo that determines what's actually in them.
So can I just to take it a step back for a
Mhm.
minute, because we went through some of your game plan or like what you've done recently. I'm curious, what's the what's the long term or like the end
Yeah.
goal? Is it to have a trainer level 30 that you use every day as your main shoe? From
Yeah.
from a playing perspective, obviously.
Yeah. It's I'm in game realm, but I'm 29. I'll be 29 tomorrow in my jogger, my uncommon jogger that I have now.
Okay.
And I will take that to 30, and then I will work on either getting a rare jogger trainer, like
Hmm.
however it kind of works out on there. But to get to that level, if you bought 5 trainers, that's 250, 260 soul.
Hmm.
Which is about what a rare trainer. I think a rare trainer, there's 6 on the market now, and the lowest is like 280. So it's within that realm, right? But as my brother pointed out, it'll be interesting to see what that recycling price is, and I suspect it will be between whatever that floor price is, right? They're going to look at whatever that level. like what it is to buy or buy off the market 5 uncommons to get to a rare, and what that difference is. And I think that will be
Don't you
the
think the
main
recycling
difference.
price would be significantly cheaper
I think it
due
will,
to
but
incentivize?
right, but it'll be so like if the floor is 17, right, for an uncommon,
Mm-hmm.
and the floor for a common is well, that doesn't work out because that's over. Yeah, I think it will be, but like if you bought them on the market, I don't think you're ahead. I think what they're going to reward is like if you buy 3 off the market, you'll be way ahead. But if
Okay.
you bought 5 off the market, the price for that uncommon will be similar, and the market will eventually price itself into that,
Mm-hmm.
right? It'll be interesting because it looks like there's a run on rares at the moment. It
Okay.
just looks like the rare market is drying up pretty quickly, which makes sense because it's really hard to get into the legendaries
Mm-hmm.
aspect. It's hard to see where those are at. So
Well, couldn't you essentially just okay? So because I forgot to say that you'd want a legendary trainer at level 30, right? Like
that right. That I
that's the
I'm
end
I'm
game.
an in game, like that's my goal is to get there,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to I'm not going to go like we were 6 weeks ago and drop 25K to get to that level, right? Because you could do it
Sure.
right now pretty, not where it was at, but like for the same to do the, it goes back to what I've said. You can probably earn the same as what it was 6 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to put 25K in it. I don't have the desire to do that, and
Yeah.
nor do you need to, right? To how you got into it, you can get in for 80, 90, 100
Yeah.
USD, right?
Well, the gamification element of it, right, is that like I don't want to spend 25K, but
Right,
I would love for me to play this game for the next year or 18 months throughout this bear market and to get there just naturally playing the
right.
game because I show up every day, run, I wisely reinvest and level up. You know what I mean? Like that's the
I
goal for me.
I doubt I would sell it if I could get 25K for a legendary. Like, see, this is the thing is like, I'm not doing it to get in there. And we kind of touched on this. It's been a psychological aspect for me also, just because, and there's a myriad of things that this kind of hits, right?
Hmm.
And I keep pointing to your community. One is because you really brought back the gaming aspect, when you were talking about Rising Star on
Hmm.
there, but this has brought back the exercise aspect, right?
Hmm.
So pre COVID, I was very much kind of CrossFit gym kind of get in there. Not that I was, but I just like the kind of
Yeah.
community of doing that, right? And when all that kind of tumbled around, I'm just not one to go out for a run, right? And my brother was saying this too. He's like, I hate cardio. Like I'm just
Yeah.
not and funny thing is I ran cross country in high school, and that's 25 years. That's way
Yeah,
longer.
but when you run cross country in high school, you've run pretty much for the rest of your life at that point.
Right.
You don't want to do it again.
Right. And it was more conditioning for basketball was the reason for doing that. But
Hmm.
this has really gotten me into it so much so like this is how it psychologically changed my thought process is I woke up like on Thursday or Wednesday or Thursday, in the morning. And I thought I had a marathon in 2 weeks, right? It's changed my mindset so
Wow.
much to think about running, that I'm like constantly kind of in that mindset. So much so that it was incentive. I was like, I'm gonna buy me another common to give me 8 energy. And to do that, usually it's like, well, I'm gonna do something and get a reward. But I'm like, I'm going to throw down and buy an uncommon to get from 7 to 8 energy. And I'm going to run that new energy. I'm going to run that on top of what I'm already running. Right. So I'm not running
Hmm.
my full 8. Right. I tried that like the first 2 or 3 days and I was just getting blown out. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Blown up on there. But it did it right because I had already made the commitment
Hmm.
instead of the other way. You get to turn the corner and you're like, okay, if I run another energy, then when I get back, I'll buy an uncommon. I'd already done it, right? So I'd already
Yeah.
told myself that I had to carry through with it, and it pushed me to go for that. And that's all the little part that it took. And I got to my limit, right? I was at the end of that, and it's probably adding, 7, 8 blocks to my initial run is all it's doing.
Hmm.
But it also I don't have to plan it, right? That's the other thing is like, how far are you running? And now that I'm running 8 energy, my route has changed just a tad, right? And
Yeah.
I know where the markers are, and I kind of know where I'm at. And I'm like, oh, usually I would turn here, right? But I've got another I've got another 0.5 that I've got to run off before I
Yeah.
turn around and go back to that, right?
Hmm.
And so it just made it so much easier. And that's what I it wasn't the CrossFit mentality. What I loved about CrossFit, or even any of those gyms that are kind of based on that, is like you walk in, the workout's on the board, you blast through the workout in 35 minutes and you're out. And
Hmm.
that's really what this fits. And what I like about Stepn is it's for everyone, right?
Yeah.
If you're just walking for 10 minutes, then that's good, right? Because you're in the game and you're playing it. So
You can just start anywhere.
they've obviously put a lot of thought into it,
Hmm.
right? Not even from a gamification aspect, because that's something different, but how people physiologically step through that, right? And how they go, and that one energy is something different. Because if it was like, oh, you buy, an uncommon and you have to run another 20 minutes,
Hmm.
it probably wouldn't work, right? Because it would just be outside of what I'd be able to do. And then you would get into the issue that you would push people to go exert themselves way beyond what they're capable of doing.
Yeah.
And then they'd start injuring themselves, right? So there's a lot of thought process through there. But my goal is to have a legendary that I can run with 20 energy on,
Hmm.
not every day, right? Obviously, you're not going to be running for 100 minutes a day. And some people do that, but that's not where I'm at. But it would be like, I would really like to have, like a Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm
Hmm.
out and I'm doing a 100-minute run, throughout everything with
Yeah.
my shoe that I've leveled up over, to your point, 6, 8, 12 months, wherever it is on there. So that's my goal. And I think the burning aspect just matches what they're doing everywhere else. So in another space, UFC Strike recently. So they went crazy with their mints, their Series Zero mints. They were minting at like 23,900, right? Which that number is just way too big from where we know all the other games and spaces are. There's
Hmm.
roughly what we've looked at. So how many users are there in, like, real users, not bot users, are there in Splinterlands, do we think? Like 30 to 40,000, like in that
Yeah, my,
range?
my estimate would be, I mean, I would cap it at 50,
Yeah.
because maybe there's been some new players coming in, but yeah,
And,
I wouldn't be surprised if we're in that range, 30 to 50.
and when you look at queues for NBA Top Shot and UFC and NFL All Day, you're looking at that 25 to 30K range.
Hmm.
And so I would say they're not necessarily the same groups, but most of the people that are in the space are just going through, there's probably 10,000 of in that group that is just going through flipping it, right? They're just
Hmm.
kind of moving through, that are just crypto people that are going in there.
Hmm.
So it's interesting because they came out with a moment burning, and it's crazy because the tool is like moment burning tool, and like you open it up and it shows all your moments, and you could just burn everything, and
Wow.
like, but you're only supposed to burn 10 of this one moment, right? There's like no safety check. I'm like, this is a really weird way to do it, because NBA Top Shot, like, you put them in a queue, right? It's
Hmm.
like, here's what you need. Go click on your little guys, and it puts them in there. But that took that moment from about $4 to $5 to about $38 to burn 10.
Just burning them, huh?
Right. So you're looking at a 6 to 8 times multiplier on there. So I
Sure.
think we're going to see that um, in stepping with the shoe price, right?
Now,
Not 6 to 8, but I think there's going to be like a 2 to 4 or 2 to 5 times jump in it, because you're going to burn shoes, and
mhm,
now you can only mint every 72 hours on that same 0 1 transaction, whatever setup you have, if you've got scrolls, and you can only get
yeah,
scrolls once a day from a chest, right? So even if you have like a shoe farm, right, you have 20 0 and 1 combinations, you still got to go get scrolls,
you still got to go run for it.
right?
That's probably one of the most brilliant things that I've seen them put into place for that. It's just like they want people who are actually playing the game to be able to do this
Yeah.
rather than just kind of explain situations. So okay, give me a rough timeline. And again, this is all just kind of speculation,
Right.
but when do you see that 2 to 5x? Because earlier in the show, you were also saying that you see a potential dip down
Right.
to So what are, again, and it doesn't need to be like months, but like what are the catalysts that would cause us to see these things in the future?
It's kind of that time frame. It depends how much longer they go without introducing burning, and I think that's kind of the weird things about these games, right?
Mhm.
Is we could be doing recycling next week, or it could be in December,
Yeah,
right?
true.
You just
Yeah.
have no idea when it is, and if we do it next week, we might not ever see a one soul shoe, right?
Okay.
Because the demand would go so far up. But if it's not till December and we get a really massive correction again in the market in general,
Sure.
or a recession is announced, people will be moving. But I'm noticing the NFTs. I mean, like DFK, a hero still 38 to
30,
41
yeah,
jewel. I
Jewel.
mean, people
But
just
but
aren't.
Jewel is just down
Right,
also.
but that means they're not moving Jewel. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
like they're moving it, right, just setting a discount and
Yeah.
saying, "I'm getting out of this."
Yeah.
It's still in there, and yeah, to your point, it's, I've bought for what you could buy one hero, I've got, like, a little army going now that I still
Are
can't
you
win those.
are you still playing?
I am. I went in more, maybe Friday, like, before the big dip, I had some Ethereum on, DFK.
Okay.
And I just flipped it over real quick. I was like, how much does this get me? Oh, this gives me like 15 times more than I thought it was going to give me. I can buy all kinds of heroes now. So much so that I flipped it, and it wasn't that much Ethereum, but I looked at Gen Zeros, right? So
Mhm.
much that I think if I had some Gen Zeros, I would do a lot more summoning. It's just hard to summon, on base ones. It's so expensive to
Yeah.
get a 9/9, Gen 1 summoner to pay, and they're usually crappy. Like you basically got to pay for what
Mhm.
you get in there. But yeah, I'm running the side quests and kind of leveling up for this duel. I'm not high enough levels. My guys are between 3 and 5, and the duels are you get matched up to 7, similar to the start of seasons in Splinterlands.
Mhm.
I'm just letting the queue move through,
Yeah.
right? Just so I don't get I'm fine 1-to-1 trading. That's from your Magic days, right? If you are winning over 50%, you were usually doing pretty good, and if you can
Mhm.
get 56, 59%, you're a pretty good Magic player for that tournament on there. So I don't need to go in and slaughter everyone, 3-0, 3-0 on everything.
Yeah.
But I don't like losing 8 times in a row. And this kind of goes into walk-in, right? So um walk-in's got all
Have you had a
kinds.
chance to explore that?
I have. It's really buggy,
Yeah, it is.
right? Because it will tell you don't have any walking tokens, and then you do to level up, right? And then you read it, and you're like, well, I've got to get 20, and I've got to move in the wallet to level it. No, you don't have to do that. But like
Yeah.
wherever it checks, it just takes forever. Because I don't know, 1.5 walking tokens for like a day before he got to level 1.
Mhm.
My little guy, and it just never registered. And I finally text my brother. I'm like, did you already get 20 tokens in like 7 days? Like, how are you at level 2 already? And he's like, no, you just use what you have. And I'm like,
I thought the same thing too. In fact, in that video that I posted, it was incorrect. But that's because for me,
yeah,
I did it maybe 10 times and it
right,
bugged out all 10 times.
right,
And
right.
then when somebody commented on the video saying, no, you don't need to actually get 20 tokens, you can do it. I was like, really? So I did it another 10 times and it still bugged out. And on the 11th time, it went through.
Yeah,
So I was like, okay, well, this is, hopefully there's just now an open beta. So I'm hoping that they can
right.
improve on that.
It's great. It's fun. I like it because I'm finally getting into something that is, ground floor. Right.
Mhm.
And arguably Stepn, we're pretty early into it, right? There'll be a lot of changes in what the game looks like come
Yeah.
December. Will be totally different meta than what it is now. But it's fun, but I don't like the combat. I mean
For DFK. Oh,
yeah,
for walking, you mean?
yeah, because it's just like you get put up against people that are way higher than you, and
It's
it's just
so
a
random, yeah.
master, right? There's kind of no strategy to it
Oh, it's just a
on that.
coin flip.
Right. Well, and even if you've got, 20,000 steps that day, you'll get put up against somebody that has 35,000,
Yeah,
right?
I
Like
know.
there's no on there, or somebody that's
Yeah.
way over leveled on there, and there's like no rhyme or reason
Mhm.
in it on there. So but it's fine. It's kind of a cool metric and
Well,
cool.
what I like about that is you don't need to do anything extra, right?
Correct.
Like you don't need to set aside time to actually go for a walk. it just counts your steps, and so
Yep.
it's like every 6 hours roughly is when the energy will reset. So
Yep.
I'll just go in every 6 hours and be like, all right, knock out 3 battles. Hopefully, I get some walk-in token, and then
Right.
come back and check in later.
And,
But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
and get there, and hopefully I've got enough, and it recognizes that I can level the little
That
martyr.
that too. Well, I think I'm at level 2 now, so I need to get like 11 walk-in token, which is taking a while.
That
But
right, because you can't get over. Oh, our level 2. Can you do the 0.19 ones?
yeah, so I'm going for 0.19, but it's still, I mean, it's still a significant amount of wins that I need to have. So it's like, even if I were to win, well, let's see. If you were to win, I'm going to try and do math and round up. So if it's zero point 0.2, so
So,
you'd need to win 5 competitions for
right.
every one times
You'd
11. So
have
you need to win 55 competitions,
right.
and you only get 8 competitions a day. Am I doing that
It's
right?
three
No,
times
12
12.
competitions a day.
Yeah.
So the earliest that I would get it from like that starting point would be roughly 4.5 days, but that's assuming I have a 100% win rate.
Right. So if we take that to, if you win half of yours, that's still not over 9
It's,
days.
yeah, it's like a week and a half at that
Yeah.
point. So
So I do like it. It's fun aspect. What I did find out, and this will be interesting, kind of the in game, back to what we were talking about, um, is my wife has no desire for the gaming. She doesn't want to have to remember to level a shoe, repair the shoe, move
really,
things
okay.
over. She
So for
just
both
has,
step in or walk in, just doesn't
yeah.
matter.
So walking, she would have no interest in going in and doing the battle
Mm-hmm.
part of it, right? She's like, just take care of the shoe, and she goes, I'll go walk once a day and do it like
Yeah.
that. And I was like, okay. I was like, we can do that, but it's interesting where it changed. And then I was talking with my brother when I was walking the other day, and I was asking him how his son did it, and like basically they set it up that they'd repair and level the shoe, and then he would get the profit that was left over
Mm-hmm.
from it, and he could do that to get him a game. Well, once he got the game, then he didn't
You
care.
didn't feel like walking
Right.
anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, and he does a lot of other things, but it was like the game was not keeping him the same way that it is me and
Yeah.
my brother. And I think it's talking to you and talking to my brother of like these different levels of where people are at, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I enjoy that kind of portion of the gaming aspect, of the community of where people are
Yeah.
at, and looking at, like a barn dog and those guys that are, way up there, and seeing where the metric is. But in game, yeah, it's the legendary, it's the 30 energy, but kind of mid intermediate, it's gems. It's all I'm focusing on is once I get my shoe to 30, the shoe to 30, unless I get a rare that is really nice and I want to level that rare up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would still take, I think it would still take roughly me to get a rare to, unless it had hella gems, to almost level 20 to out earn the shoe I have now,
Yeah.
right? Unless it's super good and I have the gems on there. But the benefit of focusing and leveling up your gems is they're with you forever.
Yeah.
Right. And so wherever you want to move and however you want to do that, it works. So once I'll be in 2 days, I'll be to level 30 on the shoe that I have now, the jogger I have now, and it should be enough. But I'd also like just a trainer just to be able to go do it at any level.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like
And
at any pace. Yeah.
yeah, and so if I want to do it with the little ones, I can take them out, and I don't have to worry that I've got to maintain, over 4 and push them along. And be like, no, we can't look at that. We're walking.
You're not walking fast enough for our leisure
Right.
walk together.
Here, sit on Dad's shoulders, and we'll walk that way. So I would look at it for that, because knowing that, if I did get a nice rare trainer, I'd probably dump into that and switch to that, knowing that it'll take a while to get the next level of trainer on there. But as far as FOMOing in and doing it, I'll probably just mint, now that I'm at 9,
Mm-hmm.
and just mint uncommons as I get enough to do that.
So we don't know yet what the level of a new recycled shoe would be, right? So
I think I'm under assumption it resets everything. It's just better base attributes.
okay, so it would essentially be like level 0 then.
Right.
Okay. So even if you were to like mint or not mint, but recycle like 5 uncommon level 30 maxed out shoes, you would start off with a level 0 rare that
Right.
has higher base stats.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But there would be a difference if you leveled or like recycled 5 level 0
Right.
uncommon shoes. So part of me looks at this and says, okay, what's the game plan for me moving forward, right?
Right.
How do I start planning this out? Because of course, like I have the same goal, right? Long
Right.
term, however long it takes. For me, the gamification aspect is enough to keep me, and the
Right.
idea of like earning. There's no desire to put any more into it. It's just
Right.
I get value out of it intrinsically from running and for my health, and then the gamification element of
Yeah.
it. So when I look at that, I'm just like, should I be starting to collect shoes either by saving up GST
Right.
to convert into Soul, or by trying to get these minting scrolls and then minting my own shoes to build
Right.
out a fleet of maybe 9, because that's when I get the next energy increase, right?
No, you'll get it. Oh yeah, 3. Yeah, 9. Yeah,
From
because
3
you're
to
at
9,
2.
unless
Yeah.
unless I go for an uncommon.
Right. Right. And
Okay.
so, we haven't done. We've talked about kind of doing a guide of if you had 10 soul, 100 soul, or wherever it's at. I really think like getting uncommon from shoe 4 to like 7, 6 or 7, like in
Mm-hmm.
that range, that's the best off you are, because it just gives you another energy every time you add to that, right?
Sure.
And that pays off over that long time. Unless you're going to go buy 5 commons, right, to
Yeah.
get you really close, right? 5, or go buy 6 commons, and it's actually cheaper if you buy 6 commons. It's cheaper than trying to get your energy to the same level the uncommon way,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you've got to drop it all right then,
Yeah.
right?
What is the energy level that you increase from from 3 shoes to 9 shoes?
9.
So so then you get 9 energy.
Yeah,
Okay, so the only intermediate is if I go for an uncommon shoe now.
right.
Got it. Okay. Interesting.
And but you've got to put it in right then, right? That's the drawback is
You got to
you
throw down for
basically got to go all in,
yeah.
or you're and then you start getting into the market, and in general, you're basically your opportunity cost of just holding a common, right? Unless you're minting those commons, right? There's
Mhm.
no, and I think the big thing is what it incentivizes you to do is you're rewarded for not just flipping your 2 mint shoe, right? You might as well just hold it,
Yeah.
because once you get 5, then you can just kind of combine them into
Combine
an
them into something
uncommon,
else. Yeah.
and that's basically a wash, right? Depending whatever that
Mhm.
that combine is, because whatever you were going to make would cost you in an uncommon. So I think it keeps a lot in there. It's to your point of I'm buying the last, so I'm not waiting, and this is just kind of my weekly DCA portion.
Mhm.
Like if I need another gym, if I have 2, I'll buy the third one just to kind of speed that up a little bit,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
To get that return. And it would be same if I had 4 shoes, I would go buy the 5th one,
Okay.
right? And unless we're talking about a rare, but even on that, I think I could make the justification that I would want the legendary or epic or whatever the next tier was for
Mhm.
that entry price. Um, on there, maybe, I don't know, I'd have to look at it. But by the time you're at that level, you're probably at 20,
Mhm.
right? And you're pulling in, I think I saw someone was pulling in 600 GST, at your max level,
Wow.
a day. So I mean that changes where you're at, because you're earning quite a bit more
Sure.
that you're
Sure.
putting in, right?
Now, I mean, I don't like to do price predictions, but I'm curious based on a lot of the mechanics and game mechanics that we're seeing. Or we were talking about the floor price potentially going up based on these new mechanics. Does that affect GST at all with this,
I
like with
don't.
the way you
I,
see
I
it?
I mean, I look at it the same way as DEC. Not
Hmm.
really,
It
right?
doesn't, right? Okay, because
I
I'm just curious if I'm missing something because I'm just like the shoe mechanics is like its own market, but it doesn't really affect
right.
GST unless like 'cause there's no reason for people to be buying GST at this point in time, right? That's the only thing that will raise the value.
I don't see it. I don't see, but likewise, I don't see any real need to sell it real quick,
Sure, yeah.
right? To kind of go through that. And from what I'm earning, but I'm also power leveling. So in the morning, I have to spend, another 20 GST to boost my leveling on my shoe, because I'm in, 26, 28 hours it takes. to level my
Okay.
shoe in those levels.
And you can't use it while it's leveling?
No.
Yeah, okay.
And originally I was going to make another shoe and
Hmm.
level it, but the cost that I was missing out on, it's just better to level. It's almost a wash. Like it's all figured in, right? It's all
Yeah.
gamed in. Unless
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had like
So
a 19 shoe already somewhere, then it would make sense to walk on that or run on that 19 shoe, level 19 shoe, and wait until my 26 was done. But I didn't have that at the time. So I had the GST from the session before, so it just
mhm.
makes sense to boost it through. I'm roughly doing a gym combine a day and a power boosting my level, and then I also have to boost my box opening, which is only like 2 or 3 GST by the time it's all said and done on the box. So I'm roughly going through everything I earn daily right now. I don't have
Interesting.
much GST to
Left
spare.
over. Yeah. That's
And
interesting because now I'm wondering if I should be leveling up a shoe in conjunction, right? So that I have two, so that as I level them up, I always have another one to
I
use.
don't think so if you plan on getting more shoes, because it'll just be better. To me, it makes sense to me to get to level 30.
Hmm.
One, just you get up to that level and you have that shoe and you're good to go. I probably didn't pick the most opportune shoe because I have its efficiency, luck, um, resilience. So I don't have to really spend much to repair my
Yeah.
shoes on there, but it does have an efficiency slot, and the luck slot's pretty decent. And so now what I would do is meant for that uncommon that I would look for if it had a triple comfort. I would
Hmm.
look at leveling that to 30, because then you could use that for a GMT shoe
Okay.
later, right? That would be the only time that I would look at doing that. Otherwise, I'll just look for rare on there. It would have to be a pretty decent shoe, and really, what I've found is like base stats are relevant because the gyms blow it away,
Yeah. True.
right?
And as you said earlier too, like as you level up, a lot of that becomes, you get to
Right.
choose where you want those points
Your
anyway.
difference is your delta is so minuscule, anyways, that
Yeah.
I'm still like, I think I did a breakdown like at level 20 or 22 that I was getting about 2 GST per energy tick.
Hmm.
So roughly 10 per energy. And I think now that I'm at 28, like today, I think I got 96 for 8. So I'm roughly getting 12. So
Nice.
even at 28, it's not that different than 23, right? It's 1 or 2 GST more per energy. So I think the energy aspect will have it. I just want that option at 30
Hmm.
to look at GST. So I just took this one on there. So that's the realm I go. But now it's gyms until I get enough uncommons that I can go to a rare. But I'm not going to force rush it. Right. I'm not going to
Yeah.
StarCraft Zerg it and go turn 4 minutes into it.
I got the reference. That was great.
I don't know. I've been watching a lot of world championships, and those guys are just amazing. I don't know why
So
it's
if I can get your advice, and would you recommend, because right now I have a level 9 walker, which is my main shoe,
Mhm.
and then I think one's a level 6, but we'll just say like 2 level 5 shoes that I've bought off the
Right,
market that are just there for the energy. Would
right.
you recommend then for me to continue loading up or leveling up my my walker? Because now I'm at the point where should I this is where I'm at. It's just like, do I level up this shoe and
Is
try to get
it,
it all the way to 19 or 29 or 30, or do I just start looking to acquire more shoes with the earnings that I have?
I think you're better off. Well, this is the key. I don't think I think you're better off leveling. So I think the last ROI video I watched or something, it was better to level it than reinvest it. I think is what they came out with. That by like, it's not better. You come out ahead by investing in more shoes,
Hmm.
but by the time you get to full level, then you're only like 6 days behind, if that makes sense. And so then you're at
Sure.
full
Sure.
level, and then so by 6 days after that, then you're so much further ahead, right? Then it just
Okay.
snowballs of being that
Because you're
level.
earning a lot
Yeah.
more at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they want you to level, right? It's
Mhm.
interesting that naturally wherever they put the GMT roadblock is where people have decided to kind of stop on that. But I think it depends, and this kind of where you get into is how fast can you walk, and if you can walk over, that over that 4 limit, I would look at like your goal should be get an uncommon jogger.
Okay. Well,
And,
so it's funny because I have a walker, a jogger, and a runner now, and
right.
I'm just like, oh, well, maybe I should be leveling up my jogger, right? Because I think my jogger's at level 6, so it's not that far behind. I could
You
easily
earn more
level up
with
the
a
jogger.
jogger
I earn more with a
also.
jogger. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, and I'm gonna get this number wrong. It's like 4 with a walker, 5 with a jogger,
I remember seeing that
6 with a runner, and 6.5 with a trainer.
with a trainer. Okay.
Right. And so that's the other thing is, if you can walk at a brisk enough rate,
Easily enough. Yeah.
which works,
So,
I would go to the jogger. I'd move to your jogger as your main,
okay.
and then maybe even get that to uh, 19 or so. Right. Go to the next level, kind of hold out there and see how much you're earning, and then try to get 5 joggers. Right.
Okay.
Because then if you go to 19 and you get five joggers, then when you upgrade that, right, you still have your 2, and then
But
you
now I have
upgrade and
now
now
I
you
have
have
an
an uncommon
uncommon.
jogger, so you're still at 2, so you're still at 4 energy, and then you get the 5th one.
Interesting. Okay. This is actually
Right.
the fun part of it because the
Right.
gamification is like the strategy of like I want to get from point A to point B,
Right.
and there's a couple different paths you can take, right?
Yep.
And part of that is whether you bring in new capital, but
Right.
part of it is also like how do I maximize my earnings here? Interesting. Okay, appreciate it.
So that's the route that I would take if I wasn't kind of where I was before. I had a trainer first that I used quite a bit,
Hmm.
um, but then went to the uncommon jogger because I sold my common trainer and bought the uncommon jogger. Like it was
Hmm.
kind of a trade.
Well, it's kind of nice because I actually like the fact that GST is so low right now because it's like,
I do
oh,
too.
to level it up, I just need like a couple bucks. You know what I mean? And time.
This is what the only drawback I have, or the alarming aspect I have, is that they have that marker at minus or less than 4, right?
Hmm.
Less than $4 is the max multiplier, right? On there, and I'm like, well, why is it $4? We're not even close to that. Like, is that where your
Yeah.
model was? To me, it should be, costing your opportunity cost should be like $3 to $4, not, if it's $4 and you're using 30 GST, that's $120 to level
I know. Yeah.
for a day.
Well,
Right. I mean, that's like
yeah.
you're roughly averaging like 100. So you're putting $700 in.
Hmm.
I don't think it should be like that, but I think if you got to the top earning, and maybe it's scale, I could see them doing too scales with shoe rarity, right? So similar to
Yeah. Okay.
minting, right? I could see it going kind of that direction, and maybe they have that in the works on there. But I don't think like entry level should be costing you $120 to level 30.
Hmm.
It just doesn't make sense. I mean, even $20 is, I've often been in the model that you've got to be in video game range, right? And
Yeah.
would you pay $20 DLC to get one level up that doesn't really change the game?
Yeah.
I mean, right? It doesn't make sense. And even paying $4 for DLC, it's not even
Well,
a new
you can
skin.
do the
It's
calculation to see how much, like, because you can easily see how quickly you get the ROI back, right?
You
Because
can, but it's not that like it goes back if you're getting into the game to get your ROI out of it, or if you're going to jogger and you're going to go to 30, right, to see where you're going to get out. you're I think you're better off, I don't know, staying at
well,
19 or so, but
when I say ROI, what's interesting is that like all of this can be calculated in GST, so it doesn't matter
yeah.
what the US dollar value
Well,
is,
I
right?
look at it in Soul, right? Because
Or Sol, yeah.
that's the chain on there. And so wherever that moves in there, that doesn't really affect
Mhm.
it. And that's kind of interesting, where we started at is as Soul goes down, the rest will go down, right? So it's about the same price. It's just that for us to get in now or to get another shoe is not thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Sure.
right? It's still, I mean, still to buy an uncommon, they're at 15, so you're still talking $450. But
Mm-hmm.
um, that, I mean, to get to that next level, it'll be interesting to have this conversation, in like 6 to 8 weeks to kind of see where you are and where I'm at, just because we're kind of on different trajectories, and that's really why we're having this conversation, and give
Yeah.
other people kind of the look at where you're at. Is that you can get in it, relatively cheap, $100
Yeah. I
ish,
mean, right now, yeah. I mean, so it's what,
120 bucks.
3.6 souls. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's less than 4 souls. Souls about $30.
yeah.
Soul jumped to 34.60 today, man. I'm
Good
glad I
for him.
FOMOed in before,
Yeah,
and I'm happy with where I'm at. But I think I kind of have my game plan now of like where I want to go with
right,
it. Because ultimately, yeah, to your point, like I don't want to be running for what is it, an hour and 40 minutes a day.
right,
Like
right,
that seems like quite a bit. I mean, if I had the time, and I mean, what's interesting is for some people that is a job, right? Like
right,
if you have the amount invested in, you have the shoes, whatever, like you could be pulling in serious capital.
right.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
I treat it as a workout, and the 35 to 40 minutes a session seems to be good. But I also
Mhm.
wouldn't be opposed to doing like a morning evening session either.
I
You
was
know,
just thinking about that. Yeah.
like a a short run, like 20, 30 minute run, and then having the other energy and walking that, with the
Mhm.
family or something like later, just to get out for that. um and it was interesting because this is the first time in a while, just today, that I upgraded to another energy, and it did change my behavior. Like, we are programmed in this, and getting that feedback and getting that extension um was pretty good, because I was just under 100 GST.
Mhm.
So it was like 97 that I earned this time, right? So there is that psychological of like, oh, because I remember when we had that double energy day, and I did like 130 or something, 120 or something like that. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool to make that. And then I found out my brother's doing like 170 or something like that, because he's got 17 energy. So it's like, holy moly, man. You're
It's
going, but
a
he's running.
pretty good amount.
He's
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
runner.
All right, I need to level up my jogger now because I forgot
I,
about
I
that
I
difference.
think the jogger's the
Yeah.
way to go on there. And then you have your if you hit the time and you need to do it and you can't use your jogger, you've got your walker already at a
Hmm.
level that's decent.
Well, I'm usually in the 4.5 to
Yeah,
5.5 range because I'm trying to walk fast, right? Because
right.
the idea is that like I'll earn,
Yeah,
isn't it based on movement speed?
it is based on where you are in that zone, and there's also, I wish they'd be more.
Open about it.
Yeah, I also think the more diverse your route is,
Oh, like if
like
you're not just
the
doing laps around somewhere.
right, if you're
Interesting. Yeah.
just and I think it's so minimal, right? It's a difference between like 96 and 98, I would say.
Hmm.
It's maybe a couple percent, if it's even that. But I think they do give you bonuses on there. I wish we kind of knew a little bit more,
A
but
little bit
then
more about it. Yeah.
but I don't know, I kind of like it because then it can't be exploited, right?
Hmm.
People can't just game that kind of system, and it's definitely had a different look on it, because I don't need all the tokenomics and everything. I just kind of want the game aspect, and I'm not worried about too much about ROI and pulling everything out, in 6 months. So it's changed my aspect of the way I evaluate some of these things.
Yeah. Well, this is, and I've said it many times about Splinterlands. Like, yes, there are ways to make money, but the
Right,
goal and the goal of what people should be trying to do if they're getting into this is like figuring out how to level up in the game, right? Like it's
right,
look at your nephew, for example, right? I think it was your nephew who won the video game.
yeah,
And it's just like, okay, that was his incentive.
right,
He was there for the money, right? Now for him, it wasn't like a Chinese shoe farmer where it's like I need
right,
to make a ton of money right away. He had this end goal that he was trying to get to, and
right.
as soon as he got there, he didn't really care about the game. I
But
think. Sorry, go ahead.
but I think he's also got a 28 level shoe too. He's been leveling like every day.
Oh,
Like,
really?
I
Oh,
think he's
interesting.
ahead of me, right? Which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
So we say that there's not that aspect, but there's still that like leveling gaming part of it. It's
true,
just the
true.
earning, right? This is what's into it. The earnings doesn't really draw him to it.
Yeah.
Because when my brother opened, it was him. It was my nephew that when my brother minted the rare, it was my nephew that talked him into opening it.
Okay.
Right, because there's that aspect, there's that pack opening, that Pokemon of getting that
Yeah.
next one on
What's
there,
it? What's in the
and
box?
his like, hey pops, if you lose out, like 75 soul, I really don't care. It's the chance that you could get that big
Get
one,
something
right?
there.
It's
Yeah.
irrelevant what you could get out of it. So it definitely changes it kind of for everyone. I think that's what I like about it too.
Yeah.
You can kind of do it whatever you want. Where
Yeah.
my wife's just like, I just want to put the steps in, and she really doesn't
Mhm.
care about the earning part of it. It's just like, oh, we
But
can do this aspect.
the thing is, she appreciates the fact that you
Yeah,
care about the earning side and you're
right.
maximizing it. All she has to do is show up and run,
Yep,
and for her, there's like a sense of satisfaction,
yep,
right? Like
yep,
I'm getting exercise,
yep,
and there's
yep,
something for Wimawks to do to like get
yep,
something out of this.
yep.
So
It's at all level. It's a very interesting concept.
it
Back to
is.
it's like looking, reevaluating where these things are. Like I don't even ask. Like if it was gone tomorrow, I'd be like, okay, it was fun, right?
Yeah.
I got enjoyment out of it, and it made me look at things different. That's the
Yeah.
way I look at it. It's not like if Celsius was gone, 4 weeks ago, how I would feel about that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not in the same realm, right? But
Mhm.
you're almost talking about essentially the same thing.
But it's a new idea that I
Yep.
think is there's that saying like once the mind is stretched, it can never go back to its original
Right.
form, right? So
Right.
it's this idea that like holy crap, like move to earn, like this is new, and it may not be perfect, and Stepn might not be the one that takes it fully mainstream, but to your point, even if Stepn disappeared tomorrow, I would be looking to see like who's the second mouse that finds the cheese on Stepn, right?
Right.
Who's the one who's going to look at their mistakes and failures and then improve upon that? Because I'm fascinated by the space, and I think that there's so much growth. So, I know for many people who got in like 2 months ago or 6 weeks
Right.
ago, it's rough, but and you might not be looking at this and saying like it's still super early, but part of me says like it is like
Oh,
it's just there was an early rush because of an exploit, but now it's a great time to get in or continue playing.
I mean, we're on what, release 0.7.2, right? So there's
Yeah.
been like 6 others plus whatever the sevens were. I mean, it's so early in the space, but that's the market we're also in.
Mhm.
Everyone's time frame is vastly different. It's
Yeah.
way accelerated than it used to be. But I think on that, it's been good. It's definitely changed my mindset on doing certain things and where I put my effort, and
Mhm.
just getting out and moving and doing that. And
Yeah.
ultimately I feel better. That's the crazy thing about it. I don't know how you are with your cardio, but I'm just like, I'm looking at my, and I'll tell you, this will be good. I had to go by because we're getting back to the regular time, right? And so I was like, man, I haven't had like real clothes, quote unquote, office and meeting clothes for a while. So I was like,
Mhm.
well, my threads for my pants, my suit pants were on their last thread anyway. So I was like, well, I'm gonna go buy me a couple pairs before I go to this conference. Yeah, I've already got to belt them up like 3 times now.
That's
Right?
awesome,
It's
man.
it's
There's
just
there's your
insane of
there's your
where it was.
ROI.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I love that, right? Like for me, again, I was doing cardio 3 times a week. Now I'm doing
Yeah.
it 7 days a week, right? And
Yeah.
even like it's not every day I'm going hard at it. It's
Right.
just I just make sure there's the financial incentive. So to
Right.
your point, like early on in our conversation, it's like because I put skin in the game.
I think that's the financial part. Not
It
that
is, yeah.
you're going to get something out of it, is that
Mhm.
you put some investment into it. So you've already made the deal.
I don't ever want to let energy be
Correct.
wasted. Right.
Correct.
So it's just like, I got to make sure that I go and so I'll have family visiting me like this later this week. And I'm just like, all right, well, I'm going to have to find time still. Right. Because
Right.
like, I don't want to waste like 3 or 4 days while they're in town. It's
Right.
just like, I'm going to have to go on now my 20-minute walk. Right. Because, I gotta earn, and not
Yeah.
even that I'm going to take that and I'm going to, withdraw from the game. It's just, I got to keep leveling up. I got to keep,
Right.
doing something. So
Yeah.
it'll feel wasted to me if I don't.
Yep. Yep. And that's that gamification aspect that I
Mhm.
think people miss out on. And it just serves a niche. I mean, I was thinking about this today when I was walking around too, and we can end on this. Otherwise we can go for another,
Yeah. Let's
two
go
hour
ahead and wrap up here. I know
two
we've only
hours
been on for now.
like we usually do. But early on when Android and iOS came out, right, there was a game that like a zombie game, like you would
Mhm.
go run and you kind of level up on that aspect. And I really found that like interesting. It just kind of added more fun to, the cardio aspect to that. And I
Mhm.
think that's what this has done with not a lot of eye candy, right? Because
Interesting.
to
Okay.
get in, you've got to kind of put some effort into it. And granted, what we like about walking is there's no barrier of entry,
Mhm.
but to get into this, you have to put something into it,
Yeah.
right? It's like a gym membership. You have to buy into it. And I look at it from the aspect of, going back to the $1 million question that I'm sure you get on your channel and in the community a lot, like, should I get into stepping? And
Mhm.
it'd be similar to like, well, I want to be a welder. So you're not going to go out and buy a welder and go through the program of welding looking to flip your welder in 3 days,
Yeah.
right? You're just not going to do that. And that's what I look at these. This is like a tool that gets me out and moving,
Mhm.
right? And I know if I can get to that next level, I'll just go run that much more, right? You're
Yeah.
you're saying that you don't want to run for 20 minutes, but if you had a legendary and you're getting the gems drop, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It would just be like, hey, now I've got a level 10 gem, right?
Yeah.
That's all it takes of what it is. Not that you're going to flip that level 10, for $20,000. That's not the end goal.
Oh my gosh. You just hit on something. I think this is gonna be the perfect place to end it. But you just hit on
Right,
like the most important thing with your welder
right,
analogy, right? Because people will ask like, should I get into Splinterland? Should I get into Stepn? And your comment of like, well, should I get into welding? Like,
right,
the question is, do you enjoy welding?
right,
Right, because if the idea is to like flip it later, and this is the same thing I tell the people in
right,
Splinterlands. It's just like, well, do you like the game? Like, do you
right,
think this is a game you will enjoy? Because if you're here to like make an ROI, it's going to come and go in waves and
right,
probably not going to come for a while. And in Stepin, like, do you enjoy running? Because if
right.
you hate running and you're here for the money, you're going to burn out so
Right,
fast.
exactly. But it's not, I don't hate running. I just don't have any motivation to do it.
But now you
Right,
do,
right.
and
And
you can
that's what
understand
changed it.
the kind of like, it's funny because it's almost like an what's the word I'm looking for here? It's almost like a side effect
Right,
of a benefit, right? Where it's just like,
right,
I'm doing this for the game, but it's also amazing for my health,
right,
right? When
right,
really the priority should be shifted. I should be doing this for my health and like it's an awesome game. But like you and I are excited about this because we get to play a game, level up, make some extra cash.
right,
Oh, also like my cardio and my health is improving in the long run
right.
as like a nice side effect benefit.
Yep,
So
yep, yep.
cool,
No,
man.
I think it's good. I think that's kind of a good point, and it's fun so far. I'm looking to next week, so maybe we can go like a whole week without like some major shift, or we didn't do any price predict. I mean, we
We,
kind of
we,
said it, but
we
it's
didn't.
what I've always
You know
said.
what? It's. I wasn't even saying that you and I predicted it. It's just
I
that
know.
you and I maybe caused it.
Yeah.
So we'll see if there's another dip between now and the next time we chat. We'll be like, all right, well, hey, you know what? Every time we post a Step in Sessions video, it's just make sure you sell because it'll be a
Make
good.
sure you sell before you watch. It doesn't go. Yeah. Cool, man. I
All right,
appreciate
man.
it.
Well, have a good rest of your day. Happy Father's Day again. Have a good week, man. We'll chat soon.
Yep. Thanks.